place stinks and change is coming. You say, what do we do? Turkeys don't vote for Christmas. Yeah, turkeys may not vote for Christmas, but December 25th happens anyway. I've been waiting ages to use that line. The internet is what is going to make these choices and these changes inevitable. The internet, it's the digital age that made the expense revelations happen. It's the internet that allows the democratization of comment. Polly is part of the aristocracy of political commentators and highly revered, but she now has to also compete. Compete's perhaps the wrong word, but she also now has to exist with amateur bloggers and other commentators. Comment has been democratized. The way we do politics and the ability to communicate has been democratized. And the internet is going to, whether we like it or not, redefine. The impact of the internet on politics will be rather like the impact of the printing press on the sort of priestly order and hierarchical religion of early modern Europe. It will smash the power of unaccountable elites. The princely quanglicrats will find themselves overthrown, and the political priesthood will find it has to reflect more the views of the people. The internet will tear down the hierarchical system of politics that we have, and it will do so because the politicians will realise it's in their interest to adapt. It is the Conservative Party's recognition of the fact that open source politics actually reinvigorates conservatism, it reinvigorates centre-right, it puts us in a better position in terms of votes in key seats. It allows us to, for example, draft wiki bills, for example, that include the wisdom of crowds, the wisdom that you may be surprised to hear doesn't just exist amongst the 646 people in the House of Commons. You can get the wisdom of crowds to decide how to shape legislation and propose things. So the internet is what's going to bring about this change. And I think politicians are beginning to clock the fact that it's in their interests to actually go with these changes rather than resist them. Although there are still some people who don't get it. Just a very quick final thought. People often talk about, I hate to say it, consumerism. Consumerism means getting rid of put up with what you getism. And put up with what you getism is what we've had in politics and public services for too long. And whether it's allowing people to decide directly who they want to run their local police, or giving people power to set up their own school, perhaps going beyond what the state curriculum offers, or allowing people to have a direct say over who actually gets to sit in the House of Commons and make laws on their behalf. This is all part and parcel of the same thing. It's a new conservatism, and it is doing to our economics, it's doing to our politics and our public services what we did to our economics in the 80s. It is decentralising control and power. And I think it's tremendously exciting. It's EdmundBurke.com. It's finishing off the it's finishing off the unfinished English Revolution. And I think it is bringing home some of the things that the Levellers and the American revolutionaries stood for, and I think it is a thoroughly good thing.
There's such a longer conversation we have to have.
Oh, wow. Yes.
Polly.
Well, the Levellers were collectivists. They weren't a bunch of individual consumerists.
The Levellers wanted free trade, an end to the neocon policy in Ireland, and they wanted Cromwell to cut taxes. They followed on from the Putney debates, where many of these ideas that we're discussing here were first aired.
Well, we'll have an argument another day about the legacy of the Levellers. But yes, I think you're right about the influence of the internet at the moment. It's about to kill off newspapers, for better or worse. But I can see why you love it so much, because the blogosphere, as it is at the moment, particularly in this country, is a great storm of right-wing noise, mostly, in which there's really rather a small left-wing voice that struggles hard. Why quite that is so, I'm not sure, but they've seized it for the time being. And if you look at, for instance, the sort of comments I get under my column, they are nearly all people who would die rather than buy a copy of The Guardian, and they are the enemy as far as I'm concerned.
And the internet is libertarian.
We're going to let Polly...
Let me say a bit about why I think consumerism is appalling in politics. Because consumerism is about me, on my own. What can I have? What can I buy? What will you give me? What taxes will you cut? What benefits will you give me? It lacks any sense of collective community acting together. The idea of the individual who just wants what they want is exactly what has destroyed any sense of community or of party politics. If you have two people in a room together who decide to take action, they are going to disagree on some things, but if they want to take action, they're going to have to make compromise and agree. If you want a party to get anything done, you have to understand the nature of collective action, of pooling things together in order to get things done together. If you have any idea of we are in a society where we want to do things for people that are not in our self-interest, we want to create a society where everybody is protected, that's not consumerism, that's not what I can have, but what can we all have? And won't we all live in a better society if we know that everybody is protected, that people won't be left too far behind, nor indeed allowed to get out too far ahead, that we will share more fairly. And that's the fundamental difference between left and right. If you're on the right, then you think it's what's in it for me and consumerism. That's fine. That's where you are, and you're quite far on the right, but we agree on some things, but we don't agree on lots of other things. But anybody who is at all on the left, consumerism is really the enemy of any kind of collective endeavour or serious idea of the good society.
And how do we, just finally, what do we do? How do we actually make any change happen in this climate?
Well, I mean, I think using the internet is, we have to get back in there, and I think it has been taken over by these gales of extreme individualism and extreme hostility. It's not just the content, but the tone. It's so vitriolic and so vile and so obnoxious, mostly because people are largely anonymous and therefore free of any kind of decent constraints of normal human conversation and discourse. It's pretty wild out there, but on the other hand, as we go back to Obama again, shows that you can use it as viral ways of gathering together people who do agree about things. But I think unless you can allow new parties to break through, you're not going to inspire the X Factor people. What's the point? I mean, how many years did I spend trying to break the mould of the system? It doesn't work. It can't happen. If you say to everybody, there is no chance, whatever movement you have, you will never get anybody into Parliament, never under the present system. What is the point of even thinking about conventional politics? And until you make it possible that a group somewhere can say, we've got enough votes, we could actually get into Parliament and make ourselves heard. And maybe we could be bigger, maybe we'd be smaller, but at least we're there. And if there's going to be coalitions, and we'll be in that coalition, they have to listen to us to some degree. We have some bargaining power. And unless you can give people back a sense that you can get into Parliament with something new, you're just stuck with these two monoliths and a half. Who's ever going to be enthusiastic about that? It makes me despair. I'm going to have to vote for Gordon Brown. I can't believe it, but I will, because that's what the system tells me I must do. And I want to cut my throat.
Please don't.